Nobody was laughing by the time she was done. But when she arrived, they couldn't stop. This was the kind of place where deals were made by men who believed they had seen everything. And then she walked in, a 16-year-old girl, alone, no truck, no family beside her. Just a rusted bicycle parked quietly near a fence, and in her hand, a small metal tin. It was filled with every dollar she had ever saved. Her name was Ava Pruitt. To them, she was nothing. Just a skinny farm girl playing a game she didn't understand. They had been coming to this auction for decades. They knew machines. They knew value. They knew mistakes. And the moment they saw her, they thought she was one of them. Someone's kid playing farmer. The laughter wasn't cruel, but it was enough. Enough to remind her how the world saw her. But Ava didn't respond. She didn't argue, didn't look up, didn't flinch. She just kept walking. Through rows of rusted iron, through broken machines, through forgotten metal that most men barely glanced at, she moved differently, slower, sharper. Her eyes didn't just look, they studied. Because Ava wasn't there to play, she was there for one reason, and one machine. Lot number 14, a 1953 Oliver 88 tractor. Old, damaged, ignored. To everyone else, it was junk, a failed machine, a mistake waiting to happen. But Ava saw something else. She crouched beside it, ran her fingers across the worn metal, opened the hood slowly, like she was reading a story no one else could understand. Then she pulled something from her bag, a flashlight, a notebook, and a tool most grown men there didn't even carry. A compression gauge. Now the laughter grew louder. A girl with a gauge? What's she gonna fix her bicycle? But Ava didn't hear them. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care anymore. Because while they were laughing, she was listening. To the engine, to the silence inside it, to the truth hidden beneath years of assumption. Cylinder 1. She checked, wrote it down. Cylinder 2. Same. 3. 4. Every number exact. Precise. She moved under the tractor next, dust covering her hands, clothes stained. But her focus, unshaken, because she wasn't guessing. She knew. The front axle tilted, bent, or at least, that's what everyone believed. That's why the price was low. That's why no one wanted it. That's why it sat there, waiting for someone desperate enough to make a mistake. But Ava had seen this before, in a book, a worn-out service manual, left behind by someone who once believed in her grandfather, the only person who never laughed, the only one who didn't see a girl trying to fix machines, but a mind that understood them. He hadn't taught her everything, but he taught her one thing. Don't look at what people say, look at what the machine is telling you. And this machine was telling a different story. The axle wasn't bent, it only looked that way. A rare fault, a known issue, a hidden truth buried inside a technical bulletin almost no one had ever read. Ava had. And in that moment, standing in a yard full of experienced men, she realized something. She wasn't the least knowledgeable person there. She was the only one who knew the truth. And suddenly, the laughter didn't matter anymore. Because in less than an hour, everything was going to change. And when it did, nobody in that yard would ever forget her name. This wasn't just an auction anymore. This was a moment. The moment the world underestimated the wrong girl and paid for it. The auction began at exactly 9 a.m. No music, no announcements, just the sharp, rhythmic voice of a man who had spent his entire life selling things people didn't fully understand. All right, gentlemen, let's get started. The crowd tightened. Men stepped closer, boots pressed into dry dirt, eyes scanning, calculating, waiting. This wasn't just buying and selling. This was instinct, experience, ego. And in the middle of it all stood Ava, quiet, still, watching. Lot after lot rolled by. A grain auger, sold. A worn-out planter, sold. An old tractor with a blown engine, still sold. Because here's the truth about auctions. It's not just about what something is worth. It's about what people believe it's worth. And belief can be dangerously wrong. Ava didn't bid. Not once. Not yet. She stood near lot 14, waiting, watching, listening. Some of the men noticed her again, still standing there, still serious, still not leaving. She's still here? What's she waiting for? But one man didn't laugh this time. Ray Denton, a dealer, 14 years in the business, the kind of man who didn't waste time watching amateurs. But he was watching her because something didn't feel right. Not about the tractor, about her. There was no hesitation in her posture, no confusion, no pretending, just certainty, and that made him uneasy. Lot number 14. The voice cut through the yard like a blade. Everything slowed down. Ava lifted her head. This here is a 1953 Oliver 88. Engine runs, front axle damage, selling as is. A pause. A small one, but enough. Because in auctions, that pause decides everything. Let's start it at 150. Silence. No movement. Because everyone had already made their decision. It wasn't worth it. All right then, 100? Still nothing. 75? A hand finally rose from the back. A parts dealer. Not interest, just calculation. He wasn't buying a tractor. He was buying pieces. Got 75. The auctioneer scanned the crowd. Do I hear 80? And then something unexpected happened. Ava raised her hand. Not confidently, not dramatically, just simply, but it changed everything. 80 from the young lady. The crowd reacted instantly. Murmurs, whispers, disbelief. She's bidding? You serious? But Ava didn't look at them. Her eyes were locked on the tractor because she wasn't playing their game. She was playing her own. Do I hear 90? The parts dealer raised his card. 90! Ava, without hesitation. 100. Now people turned, really turned. This wasn't funny anymore. This was strange. 110? The dealer again. 120. Ava, no pause, no doubt. 1 to 30. The dealer slowed this time. Something felt off. Because usually people like her hesitate. They second guess. They fold. But she didn't. 140. Her voice didn't shake, didn't crack, didn't break. And that's when the dealer stopped. Because something had changed. This wasn't a gamble. She knew something, and he didn't. The worst position any buyer can be in. The auctioneer looked around. 140. Do I hear 150? Silence. Real silence this time. The kind that spreads slowly. Like people are thinking the same thing, but no one wants to say it first. Ray Denton stepped forward slightly. Eyes on Ava. Then the tractor. Then back to her. He wasn't smiling anymore. Going once. No one moved. Going twice. The air felt heavier now, because suddenly this wasn't about money. It was about being wrong, and nobody likes realizing that in front of everyone. Bang. The gavel dropped. Sold. $140. And just like that, it was over. But something had begun. Ava lowered her hand. Slowly. No celebration, no reaction. Because for her, this was never the victory. This was just step one. The real moment was still coming. Ray Denton walked toward her. Slow, measured, the kind of walk a man takes when he knows something doesn't add up. He stopped in front of her, looked at the tractor, then at her. You know that axle's bent, right? A test, a simple question. But Ava didn't hesitate, not even for a second. It's not bent. Silence, not confusion, not doubt. Silence like the ground itself had paused, because in that moment, everything changed. It's not bent. The words didn't sound loud. They didn't need to be, because in that moment, everyone heard them. Ray Denton didn't respond immediately. He just looked at her, then at the tractor, then back at her again. This wasn't curiosity anymore. This was doubt. Then what is it? he asked. A simple question, but behind it, something deeper. A challenge. The kind men don't say out loud, but always mean. Prove it. Ava stepped closer to the tractor, placed her hand on the front axle. "You're all seeing the tilt," she said calmly, "and assuming impact damage." A few men exchanged glances. That's exactly what they had assumed. "That's what it looks like," someone muttered. Ava nodded slightly. "Yeah, it does." A pause. Then she looked up. "But that's not what it is." Now the air changed. Something shifted. Confidence like that doesn't come from guessing. It comes from knowing. "There was a defect," she continued. 1952 and 1953 models, Oliver 88. Now heads started turning, not laughing, listening. "A tolerance issue in the kingpin bushing." Silence. Real silence. This was specific, too specific to fake. "It wears unevenly over time," Ava said. "Causes the axle to lean. Looks like it's bent." Ray Denton narrowed his eyes. "You're saying it's not damaged?" "I'm saying it's not structural damage." Another pause. "You replace the bushing, and it straightens out." Someone in the back scoffed softly. "Sounds nice." Ava didn't react. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her notebook. Worn, used, filled with numbers. "I measured it," she said. Now even the skeptics leaned in. 4¼ inches tilt at the wheel flange. Ray blinked. Because that number meant something. Not to everyone, but to someone who knew machines, it meant everything. "The service bulletin says 4 to 4½ means bushing wear." Another pause. "And not a bent axle." No one spoke, because suddenly this wasn't theory, this was evidence. Ray stepped closer to the tractor, kneeling slightly, looking at the angle again. But this time he wasn't seeing what he thought he saw. He was seeing what he had missed. And that's a hard thing for anyone, especially someone experienced. "How much?" he asked quietly. Ava answered instantly. "About $12. A few men shifted. 12 parts, she added. 3 hours of work. Now the silence felt heavier, because the math was changing, right in front of them. This wasn't a $140 parts tractor. This was a working machine, worth much more. Ray stood up slowly, looked at her. Really looked this time. Not as a girl, not as a kid, but as someone who knew something he didn't. "Where'd you learn that?" he asked. And for the first time, Ava's expression softened. "My grandfather." A small pause. "He kept everything, notebooks, manuals, bulletins. Read them all after he passed." There it was. Not luck, not guesswork. Time, discipline, loneliness, the kind of learning no one sees. Ray nodded slowly, because now it made sense. Not just the answer, but her. "I knew him," he said quietly. Ava looked up. "Yeah?" "Good man." A small silence passed between them. "Yeah," she said. "He was." And just like that, something changed. Not in the tractor, in the people. Because the laughter, it was gone. Completely. Replaced by something else. Respect. The kind that isn't given easily, and never given by mistake. The men who had laughed earlier weren't laughing anymore. They were thinking, replaying the moment, the assumption, the mistake, because they hadn't been wrong about everything. Just the one thing that mattered. And she hadn't. Not even once. Ray extended his hand. A simple gesture, but one that carried weight. Ava looked at it for a second, then shook it. Firm, steady, no hesitation. And in that handshake, something invisible was passed. Acknowledgement. From experience to precision, from assumption to truth. And from that moment on, no one in that yard would ever underestimate her again. But what they didn't realize yet was that this moment. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Because the real impact of that day wasn't the tractor, it was what came after. And how one decision, one piece of knowledge, one girl who refused to be ignored, changed everything. The tractor didn't move that night. It just stood there, old, quiet, like it was waiting for something it had forgotten. Ava didn't leave it. She stayed. Long after the auction ended, long after the crowd disappeared, long after the jokes, the whispers, and the stares had faded into dust. Because now, this wasn't just a purchase. It was a responsibility, a test, and something deeper than that, a memory. The yard was empty except for her and Ray Denton. He didn't leave either, not immediately. He stood a few feet away, arms crossed, watching her in silence. Not judgment anymore, just curiosity. A different kind now, the kind that says, "What are you going to do next?" Ava opened her notebook again, flipped pages carefully, like each one mattered, because it did. Each page was a piece of her grandfather. Each note, a lesson he never got to finish teaching her. "You still thinking it's just a bushing job?" Ray asked. Ava didn't look up. "Not just." That one word changed everything again. Ray raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" Now she finally looked at him, and for the first time there was something heavier in her eyes. "It hasn't been serviced properly in years," she said. "Whoever owned it didn't just ignore the axle issue." She paused, ran her fingers along the engine casing. "They ignored everything." A silence. Ray exhaled slowly. "So you're rebuilding it?" Ava nodded once. "Yes. Not fixing, not repairing, rebuilding." That word landed differently, like it carried weight, like it meant she wasn't just bringing it back to life, she was giving it a second one. Morning came early. The sun rose over the dusty yard like nothing had changed, but everything had. Ava arrived before anyone else. Same bicycle, same metal tin. But now she had tools. Borrowed, collected, some old, some barely usable. But enough. Always enough. She knelt beside the tractor again, this time not as a buyer, not as a spectator, but as a builder. Ray showed up later, coffee in hand. "Didn't think you'd actually start today," he said. Ava didn't respond right away. She was already removing the first bolt. "Why not?" she finally asked. Ray smirked slightly. "Most people talk about fixing things longer than they fix them." Ava glanced up. "I'm not most people." That was it. No explanation needed. Ray nodded slowly. "Fair enough." And then he stayed, not helping, not interfering, just watching. Hours passed, then more. The tractor slowly began to change shape, not visually at first, but mechanically. Parts came apart, one by one, carefully, like she wasn't dismantling metal but revealing something hidden inside it. At one point, she paused. Her hands stopped moving. Ray noticed immediately. "You all right?" Ava didn't answer at first. She just stared at the engine, and for a second, she wasn't in that yard anymore. She was somewhere else, somewhere quieter. A small workshop, dim light, the smell of oil, and an old man standing beside her. "Don't rush it," his voice echoed in her memory. "Machines don't forgive impatience." Ava blinked. Back to reality. She tightened a bolt. "I'm fine," she said softly. But her voice had changed. Less mechanical now, more human. By afternoon, something shifted. The bushing was replaced, the axle realigned. Grease filled places that had been dry for years, and slowly the machine began to look less like a forgotten relic, and more like something alive. Ray stepped closer. "You really think this thing will run?" Ava wiped her hands on a rag. "It already does." Ray frowned. "It's not running." Ava looked at him, not arguing, explaining. "It just hasn't started yet." That distinction hit differently, because she wasn't doubting it. She was waiting on it, not hoping, knowing. The ignition key turned. Once. Nothing. Twice. A cough. A weak sound. metal waking up after years of silence. Ray leaned forward slightly. "You might need..." But he stopped, because Ava didn't react to the hesitation. She just tried again. Calm, controlled, like she already knew the outcome. The third turn was different. A deep vibration, then a rumble. Low, uncertain, but real. The engine coughed again, then caught, and suddenly, everything changed. The sound filled the yard, not loud like chaos, but steady, alive. The kind of sound that tells you, "I remember how to do this." Ray stepped back instinctively. "You've got to be kidding me." Ava just watched it. No smile yet, no celebration, just focus. Listening, feeling, like she was checking if it was real. And it was. It really was. The tractor stabilized. Idle smoothened. The vibration settled into rhythm. Perfect. Ray looked at her now differently. Not like a dealer, not like a man who had seen machines his whole life, but like someone witnessing something rare. "How?" he started, then stopped, because there was no easy answer. Ava finally stood up, wiped her hands again, and for the first time that day she smiled. Small, but real. "My grandfather used to say..." She paused. "Machines don't come back to life because you fix them." She looked at the running engine. "They come back because someone finally listens to them." The tractor idled behind her, strong, stable, alive. And in that moment, it wasn't just metal anymore. It was proof. Proof that knowledge beats assumption, that patience beats ego, that silence sometimes understands more than noise ever could. Ray exhaled slowly. "You're going to sell it, aren't you?" Ava looked at him. "No." A pause. "I'm going to show it." Ray frowned. "Show it?" Ava nodded. "To people who think it's junk." She looked back at the machine. "And let them decide what they're really looking at." The wind moved across the yard. Dust lifted, but the tractor stayed steady, alive, like it had been waiting for this exact moment. And so had she. Because this wasn't just a repair. It wasn't just an auction win. It was something bigger forming. A shift from invisible to undeniable. And what started as a quiet girl with a metal tin was slowly becoming something no one there could ignore again. Not ever. By the third day, it wasn't just a tractor anymore. It was a story, and stories spread faster than machines ever could. At first it was small. A few men talking at another auction yard, a mechanic mentioning something unusual, a dealer questioning a price he couldn't forget. Then it grew. "You heard about that Oliver 88? The one the girl fixed?" "No, rebuilt." That word again. Rebuilt. Not repaired, not patched. Rebuilt. And with every retelling, the story changed shape. But one detail stayed the same. A girl, alone, who knew more than everyone else in the yard. A week later, the same auction yard. But it didn't feel the same anymore. More people, more attention, different energy. Like the place had been upgraded by rumor alone. Ava arrived early again. Same bicycle, same quiet presence. But this time, people noticed before she even stepped off it. Whispers started instantly. "There she is. That's her. She's the one." Ava didn't react. She never did. But something inside her had changed. Not confidence, not ego. Something steadier. Awareness. Ray Denton was already there, waiting, not leaning, not judging, just watching, like he had accepted something he still didn't fully understand. "You're early," he said. Ava nodded. "I like quiet mornings." Ray smirked faintly. "That won't last today." She looked at him. "Why?" He gestured slightly behind him. "You'll see." A black pickup truck pulled in, then another, then a third. Not buyers from the usual yard. Different people. Cleaner boots, stronger posture, eyes that scan things differently. Not for junk, for value. A man stepped out of the first truck, older, well-dressed, not loud, but clearly used to being listened to. He looked around, then stopped. His eyes landed on the tractor, the Oliver 88, running, stable, perfectly aligned. He didn't speak at first, just stared. Then he asked quietly, "Who rebuilt that?" Ray pointed, not dramatically, just simply. "Her." All eyes turned. Again, Ava didn't shift, didn't straighten her posture, didn't perform. She just stood there, like she belonged exactly where she was. The man walked closer, slow, careful, like he didn't want to interrupt something important. He circled the tractor once, then again, then crouched slightly near the axle. "You replaced the bushing?" he asked. "Yes." "You measured before and after alignment?" "Yes." Another pause. He looked up. "And you diagnosed the model defect without documentation from the dealer?" Ava answered calmly. "It was in the service bulletin." The man blinked. "Most people don't even know that exists." Ava finally met his eyes. "That's why most people don't find it." Silence. Ray exhaled quietly behind her, because that line landed harder than anything else so far. The man stood up slowly, looked at Ray, then at Ava again. "What's your name?" "Ava Pruitt." He nodded once, like storing it somewhere important. Then he said something unexpected. "I want to buy it." The yard shifted instantly. Even Ray turned his head slightly. Ava didn't. She just said, "It's not for sale yet." The man frowned slightly. "How much?" She shook her head. "I didn't rebuild it to sell it." That stopped him. Not because of emotion, because of confusion. Most people fix things to profit. She didn't. That was rare. Dangerously rare. Later that afternoon, the tractor was moved to open ground. Not for work, for demonstration. A small crowd gathered. Dealers, mechanics, buyers, skeptics, people who wanted to see what they had heard. Ava stood beside it, Ray beside her, the man from the truck still watching. Ray leaned slightly toward her. "You know they're going to judge it again." Ava nodded. "I know. You ready?" She looked at the tractor. Not at the crowd, not at the pressure, just the machine. "It's ready," she said. "That's enough." She started it again. First try. Engine turned, smooth. No hesitation, no strain. Just life. The crowd reacted instantly, not loud, but sharp. Like realization spreading through them all at once. A mechanic stepped forward slightly. "That shouldn't be running that clean." Another nodded. "Not after that kind of rebuild." The man from the truck crossed his arms, still watching, still calculating. Then came the valuation. Ray stepped forward, cleared his throat. "I had a specialist assess it this morning." A pause. That got attention immediately. "Restored condition," he continued. "Market value." He looked at Ava briefly. "Between $12,000 and $15,000. The crowd reacted instantly. A few laughs, disbelief, shock, confusion. Because everyone remembered the auction. 140. Now this, one machine, one decision, one girl, turning into something worth over 100 times more. Ava didn't react, but something in her eyes changed slightly. Not pride, not surprise, just confirmation, like she already knew. The man from the truck stepped forward again. "I'll offer 14. Immediate silence, then another voice. 15. Then another. 16. The numbers climbed. Fast. But Ava raised her hand. "Stop." Everything paused. She looked at them, at all of them, and said, "I told you, it's not for sale." Confusion, frustration, interest. "Then why do this?" someone asked. Ava looked at the tractor, then said, "Because most people throw things away before they understand them." A pause. "And I wanted to know what happens when someone doesn't." Silence again, but different this time. Heavier, respectful. Ray stepped closer. You proved your point, he said quietly. Ava shook her head. No. He frowned. She continued. I didn't prove anything. A pause. I just showed what was already true. That hit differently. Because she wasn't claiming victory. She wasn't asking for recognition. She was stating reality, as if it didn't need permission. The crowd slowly began to disperse, but not like before. Not with laughter, not with doubt, with thought, with questions, with memory. Because everyone there now had a moment they couldn't unsee. A girl, a tractor, a mistake they would have made, and didn't, because of her. That evening. The yard was empty again, but the tractor stayed running, idle, steady, like it understood its own value now. Ray stood beside Ava. You know what this means, right? He asked. Ava didn't look at him. I think so. No, he said. You don't. She finally turned slightly. He continued. This isn't just a machine anymore. A pause. This is going to follow you. Ava didn't respond immediately. Then softly, good. Ray frowned. Good? She nodded once. Because now I don't have to explain myself anymore. The sun began to set, golden light over rust and steel, and for the first time, the tractor didn't look old. It looked alive in a different way, not just mechanically, but historically, like it had become part of something larger, and so had she. Ava walked toward her bicycle, stopped for a moment, looked back at the machine, then quietly said, "Thank you." No one heard it clearly, but the meaning wasn't for them. It was for everything that brought her here. Her grandfather, the notebooks, the silence, the learning no one saw, and the belief no one else had, except her. She got on her bicycle and rode away, not as a girl who surprised people, but as someone they would start expecting things from. That was the real shift, not recognition, expectation. Behind her, the tractor kept running, and the story didn't end. It expanded. The call came 2 weeks later, not from the auction yard, not from Ray Denton, but from someone Ava had never spoken to before. A university, a technical institute that trained engineers, mechanics, and restoration specialists. They had heard the story, not the rumor version, the verified one, the numbers, the rebuild, the diagnosis, and most importantly, the age. 16, the voice on the phone repeated, like they were still trying to believe it. Ava held the receiver quietly. Yes. A pause. Then, we would like to invite you to speak. She didn't answer immediately, not because she was unsure, but because she didn't understand why. I'm not a teacher, she said. The voice responded gently. You don't need to be. Another pause. You're proof. The invitation spread. Then it multiplied. Dealerships, engineering circles, restoration communities, even older mechanics who had spent their lives believing experience was the highest authority started talking about her. Not as a novelty anymore, but as a correction to what they thought they knew. Ray Denton visited her that evening. He didn't knock, just stood near the yard fence where she kept the tractor now. It still ran, every time, perfectly. Ava noticed him but didn't speak first. He did. You ever think about what happens when you leave? He asked. Ava tightened a bolt slowly. I'm not planning to leave. Ray shook his head slightly. You will? A pause. He continued. People like you don't stay in one place. Ava looked up. For a long time, she said quietly. I thought being good meant staying quiet. Ray didn't respond. She continued. My grandfather stayed quiet his whole life. A pause. And no one ever asked him what he knew. That sentence hung there, heavy, true, uncomfortable. Later that night, Ava opened an old box, wooden, worn, the same one her grandfather used to keep under his workbench. Inside were notebooks, hundreds of pages, some faded, some repaired with tape. some rewritten so many times the ink had layered itself into history. Ray stood behind her silently. She picked one up, flipped through it, and stopped. A page near the middle. A handwritten note. Knowledge is only powerful when it is seen. Ava closed the notebook slowly. I never understood this when he was alive, she said. Ray replied softly, most people don't. The next morning, the tractor was loaded onto a trailer. Not sold, not removed, preserved, documented, studied. It had become something else now, not just a machine, a case study, a reference, a symbol. Ava stood beside it one last time before it left. She placed her hand on the metal, and for a moment, she wasn't looking at machinery. She was remembering the workshop, the smell of oil, the silence of learning, the man who never needed applause to be right, her grandfather, at the Institute lecture hall. People filled every seat, engineers, students, dealers, even skeptics. Ava stood at the front. No microphone tremble, no hesitation, just stillness. The tractor behind her, restored, perfect, alive. She began simply, I didn't rebuild this because I wanted attention. I rebuilt it because I was tired of people being wrong with confidence. A quiet reaction in the room. She continued, this machine wasn't broken. It was misunderstood. And that's something I think happens more often than we admit. She clicked a remote. A diagram appeared. The axle, the bushing system, the defect, the overlooked bulletin. She didn't exaggerate. She didn't perform. She explained, clearly, precisely, like the machine itself was speaking through her, and people listened, not because she demanded it, but because she had earned it. At the end of the presentation, a man from the back stood up, older, experienced, arms crossed. He asked, you got lucky finding that issue, didn't you? The room shifted slightly, waiting for the answer. Ava looked at him. No offense, no ego, just clarity. I didn't find it, she said. I was taught how to see it. My grandfather didn't teach me machines. He taught me how to read them. Silence, complete silence. Then something changed in the room. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Respect, the kind that doesn't need permission anymore. After the lecture, Ray met her outside. You handled that better than most professors would have, he said. Ava shrugged slightly. I didn't feel like proving anything. Ray smiled faintly. That's new. Ava looked at him. No, she said. It's not. It's just the first time people finally noticed. Weeks later, the story had spread far beyond auctions, beyond tractors, beyond mechanics. It became something used in classrooms, a case study, a lesson, a reminder that assumptions cost more than mistakes. And knowledge isn't about how much you know. It's about what you notice when others stop looking. And somewhere in a quiet workshop that no longer existed, a man's legacy finally made sense. Not because the world changed, but because someone finally understood it correctly. Ava standing alone near the restored tractor, sunset light, wind moving slowly. She places her hand on the metal one last time and quietly says, now they see you. And now they see me. She turns away, walks forward, not into fame, not into noise, but into something steadier. Purpose.